my goal in terms of finances was to be able to pay myself back for the
Yes.
expenses that I put in. So that was the number one.
Mhm.
Anything above and beyond that is bonus. And so I have done that and I feel good about that. If you are interested in making money on your books, one thing that you want to consider if you're writing YA is that series are so important.
Yes.
It is, if you look into YA books, they are almost all series. Like in any genre of YA,
Right.
fantasy, romance, almost all of those are a series because when you pitch to one reader, if you have 6 books in your series, you are now getting that one reader hooked on all 6 books.
Well, I'm so excited to have you today, Chantal. I really appreciate you taking the time out to talk to us about your book, your YA book, and then also we can talk a little bit about your book that just released this
Yay.
week. And I'm so excited for you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah. So let's just get right into the nitty gritty. You wrote a YA novel.
I
And
did.
I will tell you, I have toyed with the idea of writing for young adults, and I decided Gen Z kind of scares me a little bit. And
It's fair.
they're like uber critical and they kind of got their own language. And I just decided, you know what, I'm probably not the right person to write for them. And so I do have younger siblings who fall into this category. So I
Sure.
might come from that like experience. But how was it for you? How did you approach writing a story for a specific audience that was age specific that does feel like sometimes like they have their own language? They kind of have their
Absolutely.
own thing.
Absolutely. That is a really good question. So I am a high school teacher by trade. And so I've been a stay-at-home mom while I've been having my babies, but I love like young people. I love youth. And my husband is a youth pastor by trade. And so his job trains and equips youth leaders across Canada. And so we just are really passionate about that age group. And where I feel like people get hung up, which it sounds like maybe you are as well, is on the, well, I can't speak to them because I don't know their language. I don't know what their slang is. And will it sound weird? And so the most important thing, I think, when I'm approaching, at least for me, writing inspirational fiction, is I'm not trying to be them. I'm
Mm,
trying to write in a way that will mentor them.
mm,
And so I'm writing about a young teenage girl. I've been a young teenage girl. I think that there are issues that span generations, right? So
right.
it's, yeah, there's dialect that might change, but the core of identity and relationships and family, that stuff doesn't change. And
Right.
so we know those things and we can speak to those things through fiction, which is really helpful in a way that will guide, in a way that will entertain, in a way that will mentor without trying to be like, I don't even know. I can't even think of like a weird phrase, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, there's occasionally I will think, oh, should I say like fit check or something? Like,
Yeah.
no, that's not me. I wouldn't say that. And so I'm trying to write in a way that's a little bit more universal.
Mm,
It's accessible. And it's just like those general themes where like any woman, yeah, it's written
right.
for a teenage girl, but any woman could pick it up and be like, oh, I remember because that was me 20 years ago. Does that make
So,
sense?
yeah, no, that makes perfect sense, and that's probably a really great way to approach it. But how do you handle the fact that, for example, a friend of mine was telling me about their story that they have that they're writing for young and they're setting it kind of modern times, and I think your book is kind of set
It
in
is. It's
today,
current. Yeah.
right? It's current, but yet they weren't taking into consideration the fact that, like, the teens of today communicate mainly versus text. They don't
Right.
like, there's just certain nuances that are very much, like, particular to that generation. So how did you approach handling things like that, and being true to what a teenager would experience today, especially when your story is set in today?
Right. So that's a really great point. And so I think that there's a cautions that you have to take. I remember growing up reading, and I remember thinking, oh, they haven't actually named an amount. It's like, oh, she got her paycheck, but they didn't actually like name an amount.
Mhm.
There's like um, types of writing that where you leave things vague,
Right.
and it allows for that gap of time. So it allows a story to age better
Mhm.
because you're not going to actually say specific artists or specific movie titles or specific payment amounts. And I think that there's something that we can do there where we are slightly more vague, but also speak to what is generally considered what a teenager would be now. So for example, my character in the story, she uses FaceTime a lot, and she's communicating like with memes, and the boy that she likes, like he's sending her memes or GIFs or
Right.
those kinds of things. And so
And
there's
that feels authentic.
right.
That feels authentic to what
Exactly. To what
Yeah.
teenagers would do, what they would be communicating like. But I'm not getting into the nitty-gritty of like she's on Snapchat and she's on
Right.
TikTok.
Right.
Or they're doing like, maybe it's when I talk about I'll say video chat, or I will say FaceTime sometimes, but I'll usually say social media or social versus Instagram or Facebook, because
Right.
when you use Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, you don't know, like Instagram could like implode tomorrow.
It could.
We've seen that it's possible. And so if you use like Instagram in your writing, then all of a sudden you are at risk of dating yourself if Instagram goes belly up, for example. And so I think we can talk about social media. It's going to be around forever. Texting, phones, like those kinds of
Right.
things. And so you lean towards the generic in the vague
As much
in
as
that sense.
possible. Yeah.
Right.
I like how you explain that, because that way you make it the characters relatable
Right.
to this generation, but not, like you said, not date yourself. And so that's
Right.
good. So did you have any of the youth that you work with, did you have any of them be your beta readers?
They weren't beta readers, but they have been some of the first readers. So
Okay.
yes, absolutely. I had my most recent, and I feel like I've made it. I talked to a young person that I don't know. She's in grade 9, and she used my book as a book report. I'm like, oh, I've made
Oh
it.
my
I've made
gosh.
it. I've officially
Yeah.
that's it. I checked all the boxes, right? So that's kind of fun.
Do you consider your novel Christian? Like
Yes.
Christian? Because you use the term inspirational.
The story, the main character is, her basic story arc is finding peace with God. And so there's romance, there's adventure, there's coming of age, all of those things. But the main story arc is she's got to make peace with the fact that she's angry at God. So,
Okay. So it's not a conversion story.
no.
And did you do that on purpose?
Yeah, I wanted it to be a little more complicated because life is more complicated. And I've read a lot of Christian romances, which I love, grew up reading, and it's sometimes like super cookie cutter. Like you've got a girl that, or a boy that is non-Christian, and they find Jesus, and that's great. But sometimes life is just a lot more complicated.
You know, when I was a teen and I was reading those same Christian novels that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And there was a point in time when I stopped reading them because I thought, this doesn't look like my life at all.
Yeah.
I don't really relate to this. I want to see a character who has already gotten on the side of like, I believe in God. And now she's struggling with that, or she's working through that, or how does that show up in her everyday life? And I didn't ever really see myself in those. And I think this next generation of teens are even more astute to that. They're even more like aware of the complexities of the world. I think because of the fact that they have access to so many people and so many situations and so much news, that they're just really like hyper aware of how kind of messed up the world is. And so
more critical of the church.
Exactly.
As they should be.
They should be. And so they need writing that's authentic and talks about the faith walk just as much as anything else, you know? Yeah. So I appreciate that you did that.
Thank you.
So having said all that, you were very intentional about crafting this novel that would relate to the teenager, would really speak to her heart, kind of mentor her. I love that phrasing that you used. So how do you market this book? Because that teenager is not the one buying the book. Let's be honest.
Listen, Rachel, that is the question. And I'm telling you, I feel like this is why people are afraid of writing children's books, writing YA books, because they're like, I don't want to dance on TikTok. How am I supposed to reach these readers? How am I supposed to do it? And so what is really important is when you are writing YA, and people forget this sometimes, I feel like it's more obvious when you're writing children's lit, but when you're writing children's lit, when you're writing YA, you have to have a primary audience and you have to have a secondary audience. And your primary audience is the one that you write for. So you create your avatar as you do, and you think about, okay, for my avatar, it's a 16-year-old girl, where does she shop? What does she like to read? What does she like to do? What's her family life look like? So that's the person I'm thinking of when I'm writing. And I want to write for her heart. Where are her pain points? Where is she confused? Right. And I develop that as I'm writing. And then once I'm done writing, I shift to my secondary audience, and my secondary audience, same thing. Who is my avatar? But those are the people who are buying my books, because I promise you, teenagers are not buying books. There are teens that love to read, but if they've got an extra $20, the likelihood of them going to a bookstore and buying it is so rare. And the likelihood of them going to a bookstore and buying your book is even more rare, especially if you're an indie publisher like me. And so I knew that going in. And so I'm like, I said to my husband, like, this is what he does, right? Like, there are not teens on my social media.
That's
and
true.
I don't think they would want to be there if I was there. And so if I go to TikTok, they're probably going to find somewhere else. Right. And so
now, to be honest, there are some authors who can pull that off. There are some authors who are like, they just kind of, their personalities are a good fit for that kind of like working, like talking directly to the teen, but the majority of us are not.
Yes, the majority of us, it's a struggle. And so kudos, I love when those people are like, it's phenomenal to see. But that's not me. And so I am marketing my book to my secondary audience, which is the mothers and the grandmothers. And so I have a specific avatar that I think about when I'm marketing, and what is their pain point? And you know what? I'm marketing my book to the mothers and the grandmothers who desperately want to see their grandchildren or their granddaughters and their daughters following Jesus. And they don't know how to reach them. They don't know how to encourage their faith. And so what's an easy way in to encourage their faith? And it's like, oh, I can buy them a book that is clean, that's wholesome, that's entertaining, but that has a really strong message. Across Canada, I'm not sure if this would apply to the States, but there was a research project done, and it was called Renegotiating Faith. And they studied why teenagers, as they enter emerging adulthood, why they leave the church. And specifically the research project was done on teens who are church teens. Why do they leave the church? And the number one reason was because they didn't have a mentor. And so this is a poor substitute. Like, literature is a poor substitute. But if you can offer them that, like if you can offer them something, like I would love to say that, you know what, like Robin Jones Gunn was a mentor to me when I was a teenager.
I saw your reel where you're like showing all her books.
Every single book she's ever written, I have on my shelf. And so she mentored me. And I mean, listen, like my favorite verses were ones that she put into her literature. And I like had spiritual moments because of her books. And so I would love to think that that is going to be something that I could do. So that's when I'm marketing. I'm pitching to my secondary audience.
I love your approach to that. So what I'm hearing from you is that when you're crafting the product, which is the novel, you're keeping the primary audience in mind.
Right.
But and a little bit of the secondary as well, because you're going to create the novel that will meet the needs of both audiences, right?
Exactly. The pain points are, they're very similar.
It's like it's kind of like this meshing of the two together.
It's great.
And then, but when it comes to the marketing, you're going to focus on that secondary reader and person that you are trying to reach. So what kind of marketing things have you done? Now, you mentioned you were indie author.
Yes, I am.
And so I would love to talk a little bit more about like that decision. How did you make that decision to go the self-publishing route? But before we get into that, what kind of marketing things have you been able to do to get your book in front of that secondary reader?
Absolutely. So there's a lot, like you can be as busy as you want to be, right? So before
sometimes too busy.
Right. So before you even start thinking about marketing, I really advise every writer, especially indie writers, what do you hope to achieve? And so for me, it was not selling 1 million copies of my book. That would be fantastic. But my goal is I want to spread hope to young women. And how can I do that? So for every book that's sold, I know that that's going in the hands of somebody that's going to be encouraged, hopefully, by it. And so
Right.
it's not about a number. And so because if sometimes if you set a number, then that's great. It motivates you, but it can also be discouraging if your goals are like really, really lofty and you push yourself and then you feel like a failure. So setting some clear goals and knowing like, I don't care if I'm famous. I'm a famous, I don't like that doesn't, I just want to write and I
So
want to spread hope.
when you're saying goals, are you picking any goals that are measurable?
Yeah, yeah, you
Okay.
should. Like you can like it can be measurable. Like for me, having somebody that's done a book report on my book. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's fantastic because then their classes hearing about it, right? So
Mm,
there's some things that are like just authentic spread of
mhm.
good news, right?
Right.
And so you can have measurable goals. You can have like a specific number of books that you'd like to sell in a specific amount of time, and I think that that's helpful. But making sure that it's within your realm of possibility
Right.
is going to
Being
be really
realistic
key.
about them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that you're not discouraged by it is going to be really important, right? So for me, I had kind of an idea of what I wanted to accomplish, and my community has been phenomenal. So uh, I was able to do a whole bunch of local book signings. My book has been in any bookstore that within driving range. So if you are an indie author, you can get your book into books on in bookstores on consignment, which is great. And
Did you
then,
just go into each store?
yep,
You
I
just
just went
did
in.
some
Yeah,
grassroots marketing
yeah.
there, right?
I'm like, here's my book. And what has been phenomenal is that when you put together a really solid product, like
Mhm.
it will often sell. And so put the time and effort into on the front end. Make sure that your book, especially if you publish it yourself, that it looks like a real quality book.
Mhm.
And then it's done really well. And all the consignment shops, I have to keep going back. This is the only downside. Make sure you're within driving range. Keep
Yeah.
going back and bringing them books. And they've all done book signings. They've done really well. And then I also was able to do a library tour. And I mean, it's
Okay.
fantastic, right? So
That
people would rule out libraries. Why?
yeah.
Because they're like, well, I'm not going to sell books there, which is the
Or
thing.
even
That's
feel like, especially if you're indie author, like, how do I even get into the library?
right.
You
And
know?
so that's why I think it's important. So for me, selling books was great, but also reaching my audience where they're
Mhm.
at was important. And that's why when I marked out what do I hope to accomplish, I didn't want to rule out libraries because I wanted to be able to go to those people.
It's a I think and I had read I don't remember where I read it, but there was a statistic put out that the majority of readers don't purchase a book first. They read it at the library
Absolutely.
first and then they purchase it,
Absolutely.
which blows my mind. Not that they would go to library first, because that's how
Hmm.
I grew up doing that and I still do that
Hmm.
today, but that they would purchase it after they've gone to the library and read it.
Absolutely.
And so I think sometimes we have in our mind like, oh, the library reader is going to end
Hmm.
their relationship with you after they're done reading that book, but that's not
Nope.
necessarily true. They might pick up the book and keep it on their bookshelf. They might order it
They
after they read
exactly
it
and love it
or
so
buy it for
much.
somebody else or,
Exactly. And so for me, when I did this library tour, and so you just have to ask, really. I asked, I thought, surely there's no, my book is very overtly Christian.
right,
Libraries are public spaces, but they're just happy to have people. Libraries
right.
are offering things. And so they actually paid my way. I traveled around our province and
Oh,
went to a bunch of libraries, and at each spot I got to talk with readers and share about the book, ask questions. I was allowed to sell books at the libraries, which is,
really?
I didn't realize that I would be allowed to do that. I
I
signed
wouldn't have
them,
thought
I
that
sold them.
either.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. People were there ready to buy them. And then each library I went to bought a copy of my book and put it on their shelves.
that's
And
awesome.
so I often, I did this today. I will check because you can Google your name and the library catalog, and all of my books were out. And so I'm
That's
like,
so
right
cool.
now, someone that I don't know has my book and is reading it. And so it's
That's
really fun.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's
So
so
I
cool.
encourage you, you have a public library, use that resource.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, there's a marketing concept out there that I've heard it said different ways, but like the hub and spoke or
Mhm,
the gatekeeper is
mhm.
what they're kind of. So you find the hub that leads out to the different spokes, right?
Yeah,
So the library is the hub that then leads out to the spokes of different individuals, or
absolutely.
they can be, or you can consider it that they're the gatekeeper to a new
Mhm,
community of people. And so
absolutely.
I would have never thought of libraries as being that
Mhm,
But that's a really great point, and I'm glad you
And
brought it up
and you
because
don't know who you're going to meet.
yeah,
Like what
true.
opportunities might present themselves to you because you make a connection.
Mhm.
So just like you said, like could be a spoke off, right?
Right. Amazing. Somebody might have seen you at the library and then might
Yeah,
invite you to come speak to another group,
exactly.
right?
And there is something I'm telling you, I listened to a speaker who encouraged you to sell your books at the back of the room. And if you can, like get yourself in front of a group of people and sell your books at the back of the room. Like I
Right.
have pushed as many books as I've sold on Amazon. I've pushed the same amount, if not more, of my own physical copies because I've just hit the ground running and brought my
Mhm.
books. Right.
Yeah.
And so there's there's ways to share your story.
Did you have a certain number of copies you wanted to hit? Because it's only been out since May, right?
It's only been out since May. Yeah. I'd
Is
like
there
to have by the end of the first year, I'd love to sell 2,000.
okay.
So
Are you close to that goal or do
I'm
we need to help you
probably,
out?
I'm probably about a third of the way there, if I
Okay.
had to guess. So it's harder to keep track of your own copies,
Yeah.
but
You have to be
I'm,
really like diligent with like spreadsheet, right? Like
yes, exactly.
I
So
took
it's a
this
little,
money to the library and I
yeah.
came home with this money.
Yeah. And my neighbor came over and they
Yeah.
wanted a couple copies. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's fun, but it's honestly the best stories have been, you get you have these ripple circles. So, your family and friends, they're going to buy your book. They're going to
Mhm.
support you. They may not even read it. My sister,
Right.
I don't think has read my book yet. So that's fine. And then your ripples go out and then it's the next, like strangers are walking past chapters
Mhm.
and they're picking up my book and they're gifting, those
Right.
people are giving their book, and so the ripples go out and it becomes more and more fun. And so
Right.
for me it's great, it's going to be there, I can sell it, I just wanted my book out, and
Right.
so it's there. And to answer your previous
I
question,
was
why
gonna
did I
say,
choose?
let's pivot to that conversation
Yeah.
right now. How did you choose to go the indie route?
So I didn't even see it as an option, and this
Okay.
is uh I mean, maybe I'm like backpedaling. And so when I first started like, I'm going to write this book, I started looking at the options and like traditional publishing just seemed like a slog. I wanted my book.
Yeah.
If I was going to put 2 years, that's what it
Yeah.
took. If I was going to put 2 years of work into getting this, I needed a guarantee. I have
Mhm.
3 young kids. I was not interested in querying agents and like doing that runaround.
Yeah.
Also, where I'm Canadian, there are no um like legit nationwide Christian publishing companies here.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, there are some hybrids that
Okay.
are a little bit
Sketchy.
sketchier or very old fashioned. And
They're a
so
little sus, as the kids these days say.
yeah, a little sus. Uh so I mean, I did a little bit of Google searching. I tried to see something if there was, and so most Canadians, if they're buying Christian lit, they're getting it from the States. And so
Okay.
that's just the way that it is. But the border, like the international thing was complicated. And I didn't even know if they would be interested in
Right.
more Canadian story. And so I just did it. And then they're saying, well, if you get somebody that will represent you, and then if they are find a publishing company, like there were so many ifs. And then it was, if you do get signed, it's 2 years.
Right.
No, thank you. I just needed to hold my book in my hands. And that was my first goal. Like, I just wanted on my own bookshelf.
Mhm.
That's it. And then I'm like, I just wanted to be able to share. I felt like I was
Right.
a mom trapped at home, not being able to do ministry. And so
Mm,
like, I wanted something that's going to serve these people. And so those were my steps. I'm like, self-publishing just seemed like this is a guarantee.
yes.
And I could
Yes.
be in control. I could be in the driver's seat with the time, with the pictures, the images, the words, the whole thing. It was my decision. And it also means that it's my money and my
Right.
work,
Yeah.
feet boots on the ground. But
Yeah.
uh I really I've been very happy with my decision. It's not always the easier route, but
Exactly. Like each route has its own hard, and we have to choose what hard is
exactly.
right for us. On this podcast, I want to be really authentic and real about the difficulties with publishing
Mhm.
traditionally. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want people to feel like I'm discounting it or ever like
No.
saying like you shouldn't do that. But I do want to be realistic, like you're saying, like it is a slog and there is no guarantee.
No.
Whereas if you're in the driver's seat, and you're publishing, there is a
Yeah.
guarantee. The guarantee relies on you. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, if that book doesn't go out, that's because of you,
Right.
right? And you're the one holding yourself accountable. Whereas with traditional publishing, there are so many different um, hurdles to jump
Hmm.
before you even get there.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, you are no longer in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
And so you have to decide like which route you really want to go.
Hmm.
Like, and they're both valid routes, but it
Hmm.
is it is helpful for us to be realistic about the situation at hand with the traditional publishing world that it is. And one of the things I really liked about what you said about um, just the way that you're approaching it and your goals for your book and having those really outlined, a traditional publisher might not have had the same goals for
Hmm.
you. And where that vision of yours, like the book report, right? Like
Yeah.
that was like one of those things that made your heart glad. Like that requires things like willing to go to library
Hmm.
tours and stuff, which at the end of the day, there whether or not a traditional publisher is going to give you a marketing budget or not is all
Yeah.
up in the air too, based off of how many sales they think they can generate from your book. Um, but I think that the way that you spoke about your desire and your goals for your story, it
Hmm.
only makes sense that you would have to go the indie route because I don't know
Yeah.
that a business like a traditional publisher would have
Hmm.
had the same sort of end goals for your book.
I do have another point on marketing. If you are thinking about your goals, and perhaps your goal is, gosh, I really would like to make money. So
Mhm.
my my goal in terms of finances was to be able to pay myself back for the
Yes.
expenses that I've put in. So that was the number one.
Mhm.
Anything above and beyond that is bonus. And so I have done that and I feel good about that. But maybe you actually would love to be able to have this as an income or maybe a side income.
Right.
Although side income probably because I have heard like a very, um, you know, seasoned professional in the editing business say, like, stick to your day job
Yeah.
because you can't make much money off of
Mhm.
selling books. So that's the side thing. But if you are interested in making money on your books, one thing that you want to consider if you're writing YA is that series are so important.
Yes.
It is, if you look into YA books, they are almost all series. Like in any genre of YA,
Right.
fantasy, romance, almost all of those are a series because when you pitch to one reader, if you have 6 books in your series, you are now getting that one reader hooked on all 6 books.
Right.
If you are marketing, so for Amazon ads specifically, you are only marketing book 1. So you dig hard into your first book of the series because all you need them to do is buy that
By the
first
first
book
one.
and then they come
Mm.
back for the second, third, fourth, fifth. And so you don't have to do an Amazon ad for every book 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You are only doing Amazon ads for book 1. And so you really want to consider the framework of what you're doing when you are starting to write. And so my book is going to be a 4-book series, and even my children's book that I just released is going to be a series because I want there to be a buyback on
Mm.
all of my readers, and so that there is a return on the amount. So I'm pitching to you, Rachel, but I know that you're coming back. And
Right.
when you look at the reviews, even on children's books, when you look at the reviews, it's like, oh, I love Mo Willems. He's my favorite author.
Yes.
I want to come back for every one of his books.
Right.
And I'm so excited that there's a new book from Mo Willems. And so you want to create that buzz around you. And so that's
Right.
like, gosh, I love Robin Jones Gunn's books. I have them all. I can't wait for
Right.
another one. And so people are hooked on you and they're watching to see what's coming next. And so there's that kind of buzz. And so for money making, older women will be like, oh, it's a Christmas book, it's a one-off, or it's a one romance. And so,
Right.
women, older, whatever age, will buy the one-offs,
Mhm.
but you want to think about the series.
Yes. I think you made a really important point there about um the buy-in to you, the
Hmm.
author.
Yeah.
I think we get sometimes especially as fiction writers, we're like, this is my story, and it's this little world, and it exists out
Hmm.
within, like, from me, but outside of me. And
Yeah.
we think that that's the thing we're marketing, but it's really not.
No,
We're marketing the experience we can give the reader, right? So,
absolutely.
like, the novel is just the tool, but the reader knows at the end of the day that we're the one that gave them the experience,
Hmm.
and they get hooked on the fact that we created this opportunity for them, we created this experience for them, and they come back to us. So, like, when you're saying, like, "Oh, I love Mo Willems," like, I love the experience of sitting with my kids and
Yep.
chuckling alongside of them,
Yeah,
right? That's an experience, and that's why I keep coming back to him, because I know he can deliver on that. Same thing
absolutely.
with, a series, like, this author made me experience this thing, I'm gonna come back for it again,
Hmm.
and then you're like, "Huh, I can always come back to them because I know they're
Yes.
trustworthy, I can trust them to give me this experience." And so, yes, we're marketing a novel to somebody, but at the end of the day, this is why personal brand is so important.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, they're becoming invested in us to
Yes.
give them that thing that they're looking for. And so, that's why we do things on social media. That's why we do
Hmm.
the marketing that we do, is because it helps solidify in the buyer's mind that they are going to be able to receive the thing that they're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting that you say that, thinking about the importance of, once you've created your personal brand, like sticking to your personal brand.
Yep.
I think of like Adam Sandler, this is the what popped into my mind. Like I, used to grow up loving all these funny
Mhm.
movies. And then he released like a super serious movie that
Right.
we went to watch because it was Adam Sandler, and we're like crazy disappointed. What did I just watch? What
Right.
was it? And it's not saying that you have to pigeonhole yourself into one specific thing, but you need to be mindful that if you veer off from your personal brand, what you've created for your reader, that you are at risk of disappointing who
Mhm.
is following you. So if you are writing, you know, closed door romances, and then all of a sudden you release something that's not that,
Right.
uh, you're going to have some pretty upset people.
And
And
that's
so,
not and that's not about necessarily about genre either, because you can
no,
write, like, you're writing in different genres, right? Like
I am. Yeah.
YA and
Children's lit.
children's, but at the heart of it, what you're doing is providing a clean, fun,
Mhm.
entertaining
Exactly.
story that draws on drawing closer to the Lord, right?
Exactly. Yep.
So that faith element of it. So, like, at the heart of it,
Mm.
you're providing a certain experience, a certain experience for that reader, regardless of the tool that you're using. But the example that you gave is two totally different experiences for the reader,
Yes.
right? And that's why it's
Yeah.
jarring.
Exactly. So you just want to be cautious. It's not saying that you can't ever do something new.
Right.
It's just be mindful of who has bought into you and what
Yes.
you are offering them. And
Right.
as you write, as you market, try to stick inside of that box,
Right.
or else let them know very clearly upfront, hey, I'm doing something different.
It's totally new.
This is going to be
Yeah.
really new. You're not necessarily going to be who I'm trying to reach with this. And so
Yes.
just being clear with that, I think it's going to be important.
Yes. So good. So wise. Really appreciate that. Well, we're getting close to the end of our
Yes.
time together, and I want to make sure that we talk about your brand new book and what you've
Yes.
got coming out soon in
Yes.
the pipeline. Um, and I just want to I was looking at your books and I was like, does she have a thing for lobsters?
Right? This is like, I can't. This is when you write what you know. This is
Right.
so I live in New Brunswick, Canada. So we are as East Coasty as we get, north of Maine. And so we like our lobsters. We like our seafood. And it seems to become my thing. Hopefully it doesn't, like, that's not my personal brand, people. That's, let me just like make that very clear. The
Yeah.
next book will not have as many lobsters. But yeah, so I've got my first book, and this is going to be, like I talked about the series. This is the Sadie Jones series. Hope at the Ocean's Edge is the first book. But I've written the manuscript for the second book. It will be A Harbor for Broken Hearts, and it's coming out hopefully in the spring, maybe summer. We'll see how that goes. And I released my first children's book yesterday, and it's called Lester the Lobster and the Great Escape. It's a
Which,
fun one.
do you have it by you? Can you hold it up?
I don't have it by me.
Okay.
So it's
Well,
all right.
that's
It's here
okay.
somewhere. The reason is because my kids took it to read at bedtime. So it's
Oh,
probably in one of my children's beds.
oh, that is so sweet. Oh my gosh, that's so adorable.
I'll tell you this, if you write children's books, so I was excited about my first book, but there was zero buy-in from my children.
Mhm.
They were so excited when the proof copy arrived. It was like better than Christmas morning. So
That's awesome. My kids are begging me to write them story. They're like, "Mom, can you write a story for us?" And I'm like, maybe. We'll see.
Great.
So, it's not normally what I write, but
Hey,
storytelling
you
is
do anything for
storytelling.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Anything for
right?
your kids.
Anything for your kids. So your book is coming out in the spring. We can look
Yes.
forward to that. We can
Yeah.
read your first book in the series. And where can we find you on the internet? Where can
I
we hang
am
out with you?
I'm all the places, but I'm not dancing anywhere, so you don't have to worry about that. I am on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, Chantal J MacDonald, and I have my books. Both of my books are on Amazon in all marketplaces.
Before we go, what advice do you have for that author who wants to write YA and is in like the throes of trying to navigate the whole business side, the writing side, all the sides? What advice do you have for them?
Talk to a teen.
Mhm.
Like, just talk to one. Like, find one. You don't have to become like a mentor or any of that stuff, but find a teenager in your life. Surely you know someone at your church, in your family, and ask what they like to read. Ask what they're going through. Just talk to them and get their input. Say, hey, I'm interested in writing a book.
Right.
What kind of things? And so you get their feedback on that, and then really have a lot of grace with yourself as you try to navigate it. And if you want, like, you can get teens to be your beta readers and give you feedback if you're concerned about that part of it. But otherwise, your primary audience and your secondary audience, keep both of those in mind.
Great advice. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I think this has been a gold nugget filled episode, and
It's
I'm
been so fun.
so excited for writers who are going to listen to your wise advice and create wonderful novels for young adults and be able to sell them. So, because that's the key, right? We got to get them into the
Yes,
hands of the
get those
readers.
into the hands of the readers.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Serve your audience. So I wish everyone just all the best as they try to do that.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you for listening. Join us back here next week as we continue to talk about the business of Christian fiction.